Hello, my name is Dr. Linda V. Brown. It is with great pleasure that we are coming to you today live, and that is an operative word. Life is about living. We had a lot of experiences today, but you know what? At the end of the day, life is absolutely wonderful, isn't it, Marylyn?
Yes, ma'am.
I am so excited to have Marylyn Harris here with me. Phenomenal woman. I'll just leave this one little nugget, and that is this. It is quite an honor when you can get the highest award from the President of the United States. And to be in your company and your midst and your aura is just phenomenal for me. And I would like for you to share some of your story. I'd like for you to kind of share with us about who is Marylyn, some of your background and your life and what energized you and motivated you. Because see, we see people and we are in awe over celebrities and those who are accomplished. And what we don't know is behind the scenes, what in the world happened to you to get you to where you are right now. And I know you have much to share. So without further ado, I am Dr. Linda V. Brown, and welcome to my show. We're excited. We're working on it with my production manager, Fung. She's going to be helping me to name which way we want to kind of title it. But right now, I'm enjoying life, and we just going to call it Behind the Scenes with Friends of Dr. Linda V. Brown. So take it away, Marylyn.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on your show.
Absolutely.
To answer the question, I'll start at the beginning.
Please do.
Thank you. I'm an East Coast girl that's loving living in Texas.
Absolutely.
I've been here for 37 years next month.
Oh, yeah, girl. You got Texas blood.
I love Texas. It's been good to me. I came from the East Coast. I grew up in the Philadelphia area. My story starts with some sadness, actually, which is the fuel that has driven me all these years. My mother was a single parent. She had me. My dad chose not to be involved in my life. My mother, unfortunately, died at 39 when I was 8 of cancer. And so the blessing was that she had a loving family. She had 2 parents that were still alive and 1 sister. So my mother's family took me in and raised me. However, my mother died in 69. My grandfather, who I lived with, died in 71. My grandmother in 73. So my family just disintegrated through my eyes when I was a little girl. So by the time I was 12, I had responsibility to take care of the whole house, and my 2 cousins who I had moved in with. I was the oldest of my aunt's children, my mother's sister who raised me. It was a very trying time.
Right.
I went through many psychological and emotional changes to lose your mother, your grandfather, your grandmother. But my grandfather had been the pastor of our church. He started our own church. He was very entrepreneurial. While working at the steel mill, he founded and grew a church and a following. And my grandmother was like the church mother.
Let me interrupt you for a second before you go too far. I'm hearing that, that blood DNA was there in full support. But at the same time, it was like, okay, Jesus Christ, what are you doing now? You've taken away my mom, and now my grandfather, and now my grandmother, and my mother's sister took us in, and now I have to become a leader and of that household. Where did you get your motivation? Is there someone maybe outside that DNA line that kind of got into your pathway and energized you to keep you safe and keep you moving?
Yes, and it's always that someone.
Yeah, it is.
It's always that someone.
It really is.
And you know it when you see them, when you meet them.
Exactly.
I was very blessed that it was many someone.
Wow.
My mother only had 1 sister, and my dad didn't have any brothers or sisters.
No.
But I had 15 aunts that helped guide me through those early years. All of them were different and distinct and mouthy and just amazing Black women.
Fantastic. That is so I try to tell people it's one thing to have your DNA in a hub of the bloodline. That's great. But pay attention to that ripple effect of how far it just lingers out and others just bring you in, embrace you. So you had the world at your feet. These are the different 15 kind of folks that kind of exist in the world. And girl, we're going to prepare you. So you left off at talking about 12. So please.
Yeah,
go forward.
so my grandfather started a church, which meant his grandkids and his daughters. He had 2 daughters prior to my mother dying.
Right.
We had to work 8 days a week in the church.
Sure.
I mean, we had to polish the pews. We had to help bake the church dinners. We had to comfort the parishioners. I was the church pianist, and I was the Sunday school secretary.
Wow.
I learned the piano at 6, and I ended up playing in the church.
That
So
is fantastic.
that has helped me. My grandfather, through his ministry, he helped me learn through being in the church about dealing with different types of people,
Right.
challenges, overcoming hardship, and evolving, innovating. Like I said, I learned to play the piano.
Right.
I learned to keep order, keep notes, being the Sunday school secretary. I learned how to be responsible,
Fantastic.
not only for me, but for others,
Others.
because I became, a few years after he died, the household leader, because
Wow.
my aunt that raised me had to work. My 2 cousins are younger than me, so I was put in a leadership position. I say it was my first cybersecurity training. I had to keep the house secure, my cousins secure, myself, our family secrets, belongings, everything.
That's fantastic.
So I had a great years in school. I was a scholarly type, so I loved school. My teachers loved me. Had a lot of support. Grew up in an amazing Black community.
Fantastic.
Was in the band. I played sports. I ran track. I played field hockey for 4 years.
Oh,
my
field
favorite
hockey.
sport.
Wow.
Yes, last year I won a award from the National Hockey League too.
How about
Because
that?
I sent
Oh
them
my goodness.
I sent them the pictures of my team, talked to them about my hockey experience and how I
Exactly.
love the Philadelphia Flyers, and they sent me a $5,000 check back to support my nonprofit.
Now, see, that is fantastic. We're going to learn more about this nonprofit, but let me tell you, sports, ladies and gentlemen, having been a coach for years myself, not hockey, but volleyball, basketball, and track with winning teams, it helps to bring a unity, a mindset. And you learn through your personal
Yes.
life plus your academic and sports life the importance of being what we call at Brown Leadership Consulting, what is definitely a servant leader,
Yes.
and which is misconstrued and misunderstood. But that's another show.
And
I just-
hockey did that for me.
Exactly.
I had a team. I had sisters. You know, I had the goalie. I had the people in the
Wow.
outfield.
There you
and
go.
we were also all friends for 4 years. We played on the same team.
Wow.
It was amazing. And, you know, it taught me how to get along with others because still at my
Exactly.
core, I'm an only child. And how to just enmesh myself in something that was bigger than me at the time. It was the
Fantastic.
team and sports. So
Right.
I went on to college. I found all the scholarships for myself to go to college.
Whoa.
I went to college 8 hours away from home in a small private Quaker school.
Fantastic.
in
What's
North
the name of
Carolina.
that school?
Guilford College, it still
Ah,
stands.
oh, wonderful.
Now they have found that some of the slave trails were
Okay.
behind the school in the brush because, you know, the Quakers
Right.
did
And
aid
the
and
Underground
abet many,
Railroad.
yes,
Yes.
many of the Black folks that came through the
Mhm.
Underground Railroad.
Mhm.
So that was an interesting experience. It was 1,400 students on the campus and 40
Wow.
Black people. 20 of them spoke to us. The other 20 didn't. We had a Black student union. It was the richest experience of my
I'm
life.
sure. Getting to know yourself through your own pigmentation and coloration. And see, that's what's so unique about the human race. It is not about, trust me, all this judgmental about did you stay in the oven too long and got a little on the chocolate side versus that of, oh, I like mine kind of on the raw side and doughy. Let me tell you something, at the end of the day, it's still a doggone chocolate chip cookie. eat it, enjoy it, and let's get rid of the pigmentation craziness. But it does happen within our own culture. Being from Louisiana, trust me, I can identify. But please go forward.
Well, so I got to college, but before I got to college, the summer before, I worked in a nursing home. That's relevant because I ultimately became a nurse. The day I got to college, my godfather, who was a wonderful male role model in my life, he took over for me as the manly figure in my life. Him and my mother and my grandparents were friends.
Right.
And so I got to college. The next day I walked across the street and got a job at the Friends nursing home because I had to have a job.
Right.
And I made it through the first year and a half. My first semester I had a 3.3 because I loved English. I did work study and I worked in the criminal justice department where the first woman Supreme Court justice had just left from Judge Sandra Day O'Connor worked there at Guilford before she was, became a Supreme Court justice. But the point I want to make is I did everything I could for myself because I wanted to get to college. I found enough money for the first year and enough money to survive. But in the second year, I didn't have enough money and I didn't want to get loans. So I went in the Army.
Oh, that's where the military kicked in. Very good.
Yes.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that.
That's how I felt. Like, really? That's how my family felt. Like, oh, no, you're not. You're going to stay.
So you were kind of like the first in your...
I was the first in my family, immediate family and extended family.
To enroll.
To go in the military. It was not a common thing in 1981 for women to go in the military, especially women that were Black and were afforded the opportunity to go to college. But if you don't have no money, you got to do something.
You know, I saw something very interesting. In fact, because Marylyn and I, we're actually developing our friendship as you go. You're not going to believe this, but we've only known each other, 2 weeks maybe? We met the first time, 4th of July this year. I mean, so it's really how you want to engage and put yourself into it. And now look where we are. But just real briefly, I called her, was that Tuesday or Wednesday? That was Wednesday. I think I called you to say you need to go to this station because they are interviewing this lady, Hispanic lady who served with a Black female regime that served in the service doing male, but because she could pass for white more so than being Hispanic or Black or combinations thereof, she was able to actually get into the hospitals and to assist with our servicemen during World War II. This woman is 102 years old. And I had to call you to say, girl, you cannot miss this. Please do so in observing it. And so it was on CBS show, and they did a special arrangement. And First Lady Biden also gave her a call to say hello and thank you for your service. And they arranged for that to happen. But this woman was very alert. When she saw that picture, she saluted her right away and thanked her for being the First Lady. So just because you get old, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't mean that the mind leaves you. Keep that mind intact. So thank you for sharing on that part of your life.
That's how I got in the military.
Wow, I'm loving that.
So I do my base. I'm enlisted. I go in enlisted because I didn't have a degree yet. I had spent a semester at North Carolina A&T on the other side of town, which is a historically Black college and university. And I was in the ROTC there, but I did not have the money to sustain. So I went in the military. I went in the Army Reserve. I was sent to Fort Jackson for basic training. As soon as you get on the post and get off the bus, somebody's screaming at you and pushing you. And it was like, what happened to college? Why did I do this? I made it. I made it through basic training. That was when basic training was not integrated with men. It was all women and our drill sergeants. And from there, you go to whatever you're going to do in the military, your job, you go to school. So I came to Texas. I came to a place called Fort Sam Houston, Texas in early 1982. Never been to Texas, didn't know what was happening. It was hot as hell down here.
It sure is.
And I had never experienced that kind of heat.
Exactly.
And I was trained there as a medic, which is the equivalent of a high-end nursing assistant. And I was also trained as an X-ray tech. And that was my military job.
Wow.
From there, I left. I went to Fort Bragg, home of the 82nd Airborne, and just saw people in the X-ray room.
Right.
The 82nd Airborne, they would go out on a jump, and people would break legs and everything else, and we would X-ray them, and that was my job for a while until I returned to college.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So when you graduated from college, what was your major, and then what was your next professionalism?
It didn't go like that. I stayed stuck right there for 10 years.
Okay.
I was just working and trying to get through college. It was hard for a single person. I had experienced some of the more deaths in my extended family.
Wow.
And I finally decided to leave Greensboro, North Carolina in 1985 and move here to Houston with my cousin. And that's when the doors of opportunity opened up for me. I did not have a degree. I started out as a bank teller. Okay. I didn't like it. Then I got accepted into the community college. The Army put me through nursing school when I moved to Texas. I went to Houston Community College, and I became a licensed nurse. I continued at Prairie View A&M University. I became a bachelor's prepared registered nurse. I went straight to graduate school, University of Texas, and became a master's prepared nurse. And
wow. You are not going to believe this. Guess what? My master's is from Prairie View A&M.
You told me.
In education administration. But I didn't know about the UT. My PhD is from the University of Texas. I know it is.
I am a UT Houston School of Nursing
and hook those
graduate, and I am very distinct out of all the hundreds of graduates from the School of Nursing. I am the 2014 Distinguished Nurse at UT School of Nursing, which you know is not a common thing.
No, ma'am.
For a black
UT
woman,
is not common.
For a black woman at any UT university to be the distinguished alumni, but it was because of what I was doing outside of nursing.
You know, and nowadays we're finally getting people to look at character. It's one thing to be able to have credentials and to have work experience, and on paper you look absolutely wonderful and the ideal candidate. But now institutions are starting to broaden their scope of accepting more people who didn't have the opportunities to have work experience or graduate from a top high school. Four-year institutions, the elite institutions, are now starting to look at character. What are you doing? What is your DNA in giving back and being a servant and taking leadership roles and say, I want to start this? And I am loving it when television and other media sources are not showing so much who killed whom, which is becoming common knowledge now. That's unfortunate. But now they're starting to focus media systems on great work. And I created this, and I got friends and family, and guess what? We galvanized this organization. We're feeding the hungry. We're providing books to educate the young. So continue. This is so exciting.
People like me who just won't give up.
And I don't either. Now, we definitely share that. Yeah, I don't give up,
not giving up.
And I'm not giving in.
We're not giving up. And so that's what happened to me after I finished nursing school. At this point, I had my son. Okay. The relationship with his father didn't work out. So I went to school. I started school with a 6-month-old baby. Wow. And I worked full-time and went to graduate school full-time at UT. I graduated in 1997 and went straight into the workforce. I worked with the homeless, mentally ill on the streets of Houston for 3.5 years. Wow. Until I absolutely got burned out. Wow. I had pushed through all of that. I got burned out. But at the same time, I had a professional opportunity with a huge pharmaceutical company. And I was hired by that company. I had to relocate my family. But I had a huge sense of enlightenment when I went into more of the business of healthcare than actual direct care. So I worked with this pharmaceutical company for 2 years and opened up my eyes to the rest of the world and opportunities. Absolutely. Yeah. So from there, I went to business school. Okay. And I finished my MBA in 2007. Before I finished, I started a company. Wow. And I was a government contractor. Real-time learning. 2 times. 2 years after I finished, I started my nonprofit, the Women Veterans
Fantastic.
Business Center, because I did a year of market research.
Right.
And I figured out that women like me around the country, because I've been traveling for years to veterans events,
Right.
nobody was looking out for our economic progression and wealth building. And so I started the country's first, with my kids, Women Veterans Business Center in 2010.
Now, what I'd like to know, I'm so glad you got to that point. Didn't know you had 2 kids as part of your baggage as you
Oh
moved.
yeah, I had them working.
How did Obama hear about you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I started the Women Veterans Business Center, I had previously went to this entrepreneurship boot camp for veterans with disabilities at Florida State.
Okay.
And the guy that was over that program, he was the one that let me in after me trying to get in for 3 years.
Right.
I got in. There was 21 people, 20 guys, and me. So do you see how this was going?
Oh my
It
goodness.
was if you could squeeze in to learn more about entrepreneurship, the programs were not traditionally for women.
That, I got
And
you.
so I finished the program. 5 months later, I started the Women Veterans Business Center in Houston. So because of that tenacity, he
Right.
shared me with a friend of his that was working at a place called Syracuse University. And he says, Marylyn
yes.
can help you recruit more women veterans in the country that want to
That's
be
right.
entrepreneurs. This had never been done before.
Wow.
So I served as, now it's called the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, and the young man that brought me in to work with him, the professor, Dr. Mike Haney, is the Vice Chancellor of Syracuse University.
Wow.
He recommended me after working with him for 3.5 years all around the country, finding and growing women veteran entrepreneurs. He wrote the recommendation letter to the President of the United States, Barack H. Obama, for me to become a champion of change.
Now, a lot of people feel like, who am I? I mean, I'm just one little individual.
Yes.
I can't make a change. You got to be kidding. Which is my first podcast. We'll be releasing that in a matter of days. And the question is about change. One word, small in nature and spelling, but the depth is phenomenal.
That's
And it's infinite in what could come about in change.
It is.
What you have to do is find your own place.
That's right.
And then that's why I asked the question after change is, now, what can I do?
Anything you want to.
Anything you want to.
Anything you want
But
to.
you gotta have
But you
that
gotta
willing
first believe
spirit.
in you.
Thank you. Now, I'm glad you did that, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't pay her for this little intro on this commercial for my company, but I registered in the government a theory based on 3 I's, also 3 C's. And the first I you've already covered.
Mhm.
Getting that internal awareness, knowing you had help with that. Like you said, you had 15 aunties, you had a mom, you had a grandmother, a grandfather, and an aunt who made sure that they had a safe environment
Yes.
for you to be
Yes.
whomever you wanted to
That's
be.
right.
And that was excellent. And then others embraced you
Yes,
and became
along
a
the way.
family from your professional world.
Yes.
They played their part in it.
Yes.
That's the first eye, is that internal awareness. My second eye is that innovation.
Ooh.
From the stands where you, well, I should say intervention. So we got to correct that. Intervention. Because once you get that intercore going, and you have clarity of understanding as to who you are, it's time to detox, get rid of that mess that's not fitting and helping you, but possibly silently holding you back
Yeah.
because you haven't confronted yourself
Yes.
with the negativity to get rid of it. But when you replace it, now the innovation, this is when that innovation will step in. You replace it with positivity so that the creativity of your energies are focused on moving forward. So that's my little
Totally agree
commercial
with
for Brown Leadership, but go forward.
I totally agree with
But
that.
you have
That is the
demonstrated that
process.
in your story,
That
and
is
this is
the
what I
process.
love.
That's
it is
exactly
a process.
That is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
process. That
It
you,
is
and
the
because it
process.
all starts with you.
Yes, ma'am.
You got to believe in you. Then you got to do a SWOT analysis.
There you go. I love that.
You got for your
Tell
and
me
then
more.
you gotta do a SWOT analysis on yourself, your life, on a lot of things
Yes.
that you touch.
Yes.
And that's the intervention. That's also the painful part.
Yes, it is.
And when you
painful.
get to the end of that, you got to let some stuff and some people go.
People.
Yes.
Exactly.
And stuff too in certain
No, it's
situations.
just stuff.
Yeah.
But usually with the people comes with the
it's
stuff.
hard. It's hard.
It's very
And
hard.
then you're clear to innovate.
Yes.
You're clear to see a space that you didn't see
Thank
before
you.
that you can move in and make a difference. When I finished business school, I wanted to be a traditional 6-figure MBA with a great car, living in the suburbs with a pool,
I hear you.
and wearing awesome suits.
There you go. Exactly.
But
And you
that
look
was not my.
wonderful, too.
Thank you. That was not my purpose.
Exactly.
I had to do those steps, like you were saying,
Yeah.
so I could even find my own purpose.
That's
Because
right.
that was in my purpose, in that space. It's the only place where I can be successful.
Awesome. You can't beat it.
I
You
can't
can't do
be,
that.
you know, and so, like you said, 3 years after starting that company, me and my kids and about 3 friends, we got a call from the Obama White House. They said, you know, the president wants you to come to DC for 2 days. One, it was Women's History Month.
Okay.
And then the next day was the Champions of Change ceremony.
Wow.
They honor 14 military women. Some I knew,
Wow.
some I didn't that day. We had personal time with, well, there was 300 people in the room, but
Right.
the president and Mrs. Obama the first day. My son made it through the crowd of 300, won the affection of Michelle Obama, took a picture with her, and then she
awesome.
threw a kiss at him the next
Oh, my
day. And then she was
goodness.
there, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm the one getting the award. So when we had all of the awardees had personal time
Right.
with Mrs. Obama.
Oh, nice.
And the first thing she said to me is, well, it's nice to meet you, Marylyn. No, that wasn't it. I appreciate the work you're doing. No, she said all that later. The first thing she said is, what college is your son going to? I was like,
Oh,
this,
fantastic.
I'm here today. Not my son.
I got you.
My son would be lucky if he get back home, if he don't act right up here in DC. But that just goes to show you, you can get through.
Exactly.
You can get through. You can get the attention of people by doing what you're supposed to do. It was
But see,
something
that
my
was
kids
her
will
legacy.
never forget. They will never forget.
They'll never
They
forget.
went to the White House because of the work they did with
Thank
their
you.
mom.
That's
And
right.
I took an elderly person in my family. I took my best friends in the whole world.
Wow.
And we all went together as a family to receive the award. And that was just the beginning. The awards keep coming. The doors keep opening. Our mission, I want to say this, is to educate and empower women veterans
Yes.
and the entire military family to start and grow wealth-generating veteran-owned
Yes.
businesses.
Well, they don't call Earth the Mother Earth for no purpose and reason, okay? Whether the rest of the species want to add up to it or not. We bring you in this world and we can also take you out when you get too out of line. But one of the things I did like that you said about Michelle, she wasn't not paying you attention. She was like, and here is your future.
Yeah, she
your
focused on the
legacy.
future.
She
Yeah.
saw that if he gets this kind of exposure, Mom, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that apple does not fall too far from the tree.
Yes.
And anything I can do to help through programs and my empowerment and my position as First Lady and making history in this position.
Yes, and she wore it well.
She
so to
wore it
speak.
well.
She wore it well.
And partnered a lot with the current First Lady.
Yes,
they did unique,
especially
wonderful
for
programs.
military
For
families
military and families in
veterans
general.
and service members.
So we're going to...
But my son, I had to get him back to Texas, and his head was so big. After he took the picture and the First Lady blew a kiss with him, I had to get that big head out of the White House and back.
Well, you know what you have to do? You should have called Obama and said, we need Air Force One to get back to Texas because he's not going to fit on a commercial flight.
Like 17 years old. Can you imagine?
I can imagine. The boy has good taste. What can I tell you? The woman is gorgeous. So one of the things that I'd like to do as we spend a couple of more minutes wrapping up is making sure you highlight and hit any major points that you would like to leave for our viewing audience.
Yes, and it goes back to those first years at Guilford when you find yourself in a place that you don't understand because you're young and you can be old and you don't understand life that much.
Right.
But you align yourself with like-minded people. That was in 1979.
Wow.
I still talk to the Black Student Union leader.
That's
I
fantastic.
still visit my college roommate.
Wow.
I keep those people close. In 1989, I went to Prairie View A&M College of Nursing, a historically black college and university, the College of Nursing in Houston. Every day, I talk to my dean.
Wow.
Everything goes back to people.
Yes, it
and
does.
how we treat each other. And I think somebody needs to keep reminding other people of that.
Yes.
Everything goes back to people. Every meaningful experience I've had in my life goes back to somebody wrapping their arms around me, supporting me, pushing me forward. Or like Michelle Obama told me when I was with her by myself, she says, keep us lifted up.
Exactly.
That us means all of us.
That's right. Yes.
And that's what we need. We need all of us.
So now that you've shared your past and how your past and your present and the legacies and the embracing of others have gotten you to where you are today, what would you like our viewers to know about your organization, your creation, and how to contact you? You never know who's listening.
That's true. I'm Marylyn Harris, and our organization is the Women Veterans Business Center. We are a national and international organization. Our mission is to educate and empower women veterans and military families to start and grow wealth-generating veteran-owned businesses. We currently have a tech initiative where we're teaching people technology in partnership with Microsoft. Most of the offerings are free. Contact us at www.womenveteransbusinesscenter.org or on our LinkedIn group of the same name. We also have a Twitter handle, Women Vets Biz. You can find me on LinkedIn. Come and join us. We're getting ready to start a national women's veterans entrepreneurship program, and the military family 16 and up is included. I want to say thank you for having me on your show. It's been delightful. You've helped me to remember by reaching back to and hold on to some of my strengths.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you too. Again, my name is Dr. Linda V. Brown, and you can reach us also through going to my website at www.lindav, as in Victoria, because we are victorious, LindaVBrown.phd.com. And my email address, and you may want to give your email, my email address is Dr. Brown, just DRBROWN, at LindaVBrownPhD.com. Would you like to share your email?
Yes, thank you. And ours is email address. The emails mostly come through the executive suite, director at womenveteransbusinesscenter.org.
And it has been a pleasure. We hope you learned a lot. I know I did. And we look forward to hearing from you. And please mention the show when you do. You never know the wonderful surprise we may have for you. Thank you again.